Many people don't realize that there was a battle fought right off the Oregon coast, right off Cape Lookout. It was called the Battle of Cape Lookout, and it was thought to be some Japanese submarines were in there, and so they let them have it with surface ships, and the blimps were involved in this battle as well, which raged on for over a day. There were never any parts of the submarine or the submarine seen. Nothing drift up on the beach, so it's there's plenty of skeptics on this subject too.
On May 20th, 1944, the K-33 was on the scene. It gave the command for all surface ships to the blimp. The surface ship found a target under the blimp flares. The screw noises were heard while a surface ship was listening. Bottom noises made the contact blurred, but by changing angles of search, a clear contact was made. The blimp again confirmed magnetic contact. The ship dropped charges, but it was unknown how many. A flare was dropped, but blimps and all surface vessels searched the area without cause or contacts. During the following night, the ship swept the area as well as it could. The moonlight night showed up an oil slick, which was investigated through the slick was too thin for samples. The patrol went from just south of Haystack Rock to north of Cape Lookout and back again. The ship went out seaward where the sub might be expected to surface. A report that the sub had surfaced off of Sand Lake caused all vessels except one to go flying north to that position. It was found to be a fishing vessel off of Sand Lake. On the appearance of a periscope, both gunners, Lacey and Coates, who were expert gunners, fired straight into the periscope, range about 50 yards. The periscope vanished in an explosion of bullets. It could not be ascertained if the periscope was hit. They called for another ship since they were running low on depth charges. Total time in contact with submarines was 56 consecutive hours. A total of 37 depth charges were expended. It is officially claimed that one submarine, presumably Japanese, possibly a mine layer, was damaged beyond the ability to leave the area. A request was made to search for possible wrecks on the bottom to buoy them out and to dive for. It is in the opinion this vessel, at least one wreck may be found near the scene of the attacks. This information was provided by L. Ron Hubbard, Lieutenant Commanding Officer, USS.
I was a park ranger at Cape Lookout State Park back through the 1970s, and one day while I was there was an old man standing looking at the beach, and he said that he was the commanding officer for the entire West Coast here during the war. And so then the subject went to the submarine that was sunk off Haystack Rock, Cape Kiwanda, south of Cape Lookout. And he said that he didn't have any information on it, but this information that we just put on had been classified up till then, and so possibly he couldn't have said. But he said the only thing he knows that he saw himself was a slick, a heavy oil drift in on the beach, which would be the type of oil that's used to fire these submarines. And so that's the only information I have on that, except I've heard this from fishermen had it marked on their charts that they'd hang their nets up on supposedly the submarine, and people have tried to get permission to dive on it. I'm not sure they have. And the Japanese were contacted, and they said they had no vessels operating in this area at that time. And also, the United States claimed they had no vessels operating in that area. So it remains a mystery, and so it's a story that might be true or might not be true. So it's uh, it's something that definitely needs to be looked into. They did find a human foot in a boot that was thought to have been a Japanese boot, but there are no pictures or anything of it. So we're just waiting. And there's reports now that on sonar or something like that, they found a cigar-shaped object that might be a submarine. So we're waiting to see if someone will dive on it. Thanks to the Tillamook Air Museum for furnishing a bunch of the material that we used on this video.